Expensive whiskey has long been the tipple of choice for well-heeled Indians, but increasingly that's changing as wine is becoming the drink of taste for the elite. It's a market that's growing at a pace of 25%. In fact, the international wine expert Spurrier is so excited by the growth potential that he's the chairman of the Wine Society of India.
You have to think that wine was hardly drunk in India 10, 15 years ago. You also have to think that Indians are very social. They like drinking alcohol, those who are allowed to by their religion. And 50% of what they drink today is beer, 49% is whiskey, so 1% is wine. Therefore, we've got all to play for.
Okay, tell me, for that 1%, what is the Indian wine consumer like?
The Indian wine consumer is not knowledgeable. So it's absolutely important for us to impart knowledge, to communicate about wine. The Indian consumer has been brought up with a variety of foods. His cuisine is the most varied in the world. Therefore, whatever wine throws at him, he's ready for it. So I think it's a very interesting market because tastes, smells, aromas, flavors, they've had it all before in their food. What's
your forecast for the coming years?
Well, in consumption, the consumption in India is going up about 25% a year. That's about 30% local wines and 20% imported wines. I estimate that'll improve a bit next year, and if taxes on imported wines come down, the consumption of imported wines will go up.
Now, there is a small but wealthy set of wine drinkers in India which is supporting the nascent wine futures market. Is that for investment or just to lock in wine at a good price?
There's certain wine, the whole futures market comes from a double perceived advantage. A, if you buy it early, you can make a profit later on, and B, if you buy it early, you can certainly guarantee that you get the wines you want. We launched Wine Futures Bordeaux in 2009 in India. We had 240 cases. We sold everything within a couple of months. But this was for drinking, not speculation.
Let's talk about the problems importing wine. Poor infrastructure, bureaucratic delays at customs. How does this affect the quality of the wine and the import market in general?
Well, an example is if I were to import a French wine into London, into England, it would take me 3 days between ordering the wine on the telephone and having the wine on my table. It takes 90 days. So we have refrigerated containers, we have to do that. The wine will stay in the port for maybe 10, 15 days. It'll then stay in customs, all this stuff. So it's 90 days, it's 30 days on the water, 60 days customs clearance. It's a nightmare, but it's what's happening at the moment. It has to be speeded up.
All which adds to the cost, I guess.
Not too much. No. It's a delay which should be speeded up.
Okay, fair enough. Finally, the domestic wine market has really taken off in India in the last few years, with a lot of investment going into vineyards and a lot of government support. Now, is this a good sign for the industry?
Yeah, I think it's a very good sign because if you take the European countries, France, Italy, Spain, the huge consumption in France, Italy, Spain, dropping now, is because wine was a natural beverage for them. Now, it's never going to be natural in India. Well, it's not going to be unnatural. But if the local market can supply very good Sauvignon Blancs and Shirazes and Cabernet Sauvignons at 500 rupees, and the equivalent Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand is going to be 2,000 rupees, it's damn good to get the nascent wine drinkers in drinking their own Sauvignon Blanc, and then when they want to have something different, they move up the scale. So without the national wine market, I'd be very, very depressed about this market.
But does the national wine market and the emphasis and the support that the government's putting on that put any pressure on the import market?
It certainly does, because I mean, if the local wines are a quarter of the price of the imported wines, people will naturally go for the cheaper wine. But it's much better they go for the cheaper wine than not go for wine at all. And if they're interested in wine, then it's obvious that they'll say, well, what's new? What else is there? And that's where we come in.